We talk about divine potential all the time, but like, what if becoming like God is more than just a saying? What if it's meant to be taken literally?
That's what we're diving into today.
Hmm.
The excerpt you shared from Elder Rubén Alliaud's talk, Sons and Daughters of God, from the latest General Conference.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really makes you think differently about, like, our connection to the divine.
Right. And he starts right off the bat with this anecdote about an interfaith conference.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
They were totally fine with recognizing baptisms from like a bunch of different Christian denominations.
Uh-huh.
But when it came to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints,
Interesting.
and the reason they gave, it all boiled down to different views on, well, God.
Yeah, the nature of God, right.
Exactly.
Like how Latter-day Saints believe that God has a physical body.
That's a big deal, right?
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's not just about God being some vague force out there.
No, not at all. And this is where it gets really interesting because for a lot of faiths, becoming like God means some kind of spiritual transformation, right?
Right.
But what Elder Alliaud is saying is that because Latter-day Saints believe God has a physical body,
Yeah.
becoming like him takes on a whole new meaning.
It becomes way more literal.
Totally.
So, like, where does this idea come from? Is there anything in the Bible that backs it up?
Well, Elder Alliaud talks about the story of Moses and the burning bush.
Oh, classic.
Right. Or, well, the burning tree, to be accurate.
Okay, sure. Burning tree.
But he doesn't just tell this story again, you know. He wants us to pay attention to the exact words God uses when he's talking to Moses.
So what are we missing in that story that we've all heard a million times?
It's how often God calls Moses my son. Like over and over, God addresses Moses with this, like fatherly love, recognizing his potential, even when Moses himself is freaking out.
Right, right.
It's like that's God seeing our potential even before we do, you know?
That's a good way to put it.
And it's not just the Old Testament either.
He brings in the New Testament, too.
Yeah. He goes from this image of God as a loving father to the temptation of Christ.
Oh, interesting.
Think about it. How many times does Satan tempt Jesus by being like, if thou be the Son of God?
Right, like he's using Jesus' own identity against him.
Exactly. And that's something we still deal with today, right? Like,
Yeah.
if we're constantly questioning ourselves, our worthiness, it makes it harder to grow.
So Elder Alliaud's saying that accepting that we're children of God is a big part of our spiritual journey.
Absolutely.
And if doubting ourselves is like a tool of the enemy, embracing who we are must be incredibly powerful.
No doubt.
And that takes us to one of the like most famous teachings of Jesus, right? That whole be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect. It's kind of intimidating, to be honest.
I can see that.
I'm like, perfect. Am I supposed to never hit the snooze button again? Never eat another cookie?
Well, I don't think it's about being totally flawless. Remember how we were just talking about God seeing our potential, even when we don't?
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's kind of like that.
So how does Elder Alliaud explain it?
He says it's not like, poof, you're perfect overnight, you know?
Right.
It's not about being perfect right now. It's about becoming more like God over time.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah, like he even uses the word eventually.
Eventually, perfect. I can work with that.
Exactly.
So it's more about like always trying to improve to be our best selves.
Right, exactly. It's like training for a marathon.
Oh, good analogy.
You wouldn't expect to run 26 miles on the first day, right?
No way.
It takes time, effort, consistency.
And Elder Alliaud ties this all back to like our relationship with Jesus Christ, right?
Exactly. He says that through Christ's atonement, we get the help we need to actually reach our full potential.
That reminds me of something else he talked about, how all this potential, this incredible inheritance, it's not something we earn on our own.
Right. He talks about being joint heirs with Christ, which is a powerful image.
Yeah, it's like we're in this together.
Not just inheriting the good stuff, but also supporting each other through the tough times.
Because there will be tough times, right?
Definitely, it's not always going to be easy.
It's like that saying, no pain, no gain. But in this case, the gain is way bigger than we can even imagine. It's kind of like we're being asked to like step into this role we never thought we could fill, you know?
It's a radical idea, for sure.
Right.
But Elder Alliaud says this understanding of like who we really are, it's not supposed to scare us. It's supposed to empower us.
Okay, I like that.
He reminds us that our happiness, even our exaltation, it wasn't free, you know?
Yeah.
Christ's sacrifice made it all possible.
There's that incredible love again, right? Bridging the gap between like us just being human and this amazing potential we have.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
And Elder Alliaud ties this back to, like, thinking celestial, which President Nelson talks about a lot.
Right, right.
It's about changing how we see things, understanding what's really possible when we follow God's plan.
So it's way more than just following the rules then.
Way more. It's about seeing ourselves and the world in a totally different way.
And that's where the real change happens, right?
I think so, yeah.
When we finally get it, that we're children of God with all this potential.
It changes everything.
Everything, how we deal with problems, how we treat people, just like how we live our lives.
Exactly.
It's like we've been given this treasure map.
Ooh, I like that.
But the real treasure isn't the destination. It's like everything we learn and experience along the way.
That's a great way to put it.
Right.
And that's what makes Elder Alliaud's message so powerful.
Yeah.
It's not just some theory, you know. It's about actually doing something.
So where do we even begin? How do we take all of this and like make it real in our everyday lives?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Right.
Maybe Elder Alliaud would say it starts with just trying to see things differently, you know? Like, what if today we try to see everyone, including ourselves, with that same potential in mind? It's something to think about.
Yeah, for sure.
I think we might be surprised by what we find.
Well, we've talked about a lot today. The nature of God, Christ's atonement, and this incredible potential we all have.
It's a lot to take in.
Right. But hopefully this deep dive has given you some things to ponder.
Absolutely.
Maybe even like a little boost as you continue on your own journey, you know?
Definitely.
And remember, becoming like God isn't about being perfect right now.
It's about the journey.
It's about having faith, growing, and like remembering that we're all in this together.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Who knows? We might just be closer to that divine potential than we realize.